Welcome to Gardening with Ben, the podcast where we dig into the soil of our gardens and the depths of our green thumbs. I'm your host Ben, here to guide you through the joys of gardening from sowing seeds to reaping bountiful harvests. Each episode will explore tips, tricks and tales from the garden and allotment, sharing insights from ourselves and stories from our own back garden adventures. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just getting your hands dirty for the first time, there's something here for everyone. So grab your brew and gardening gloves and let's get growing with Gardening with Ben. Welcome to Gardening with Ben's January Tasks, the podcast where we'll guide you through the essential garden and allotment jobs for January. As we step into the new year, our gardens and allotments may seem dormant, but there's still plenty to do. This month we'll focus on key tasks such as winter pruning, planning your year's crops, preparing soil for early planting, and protecting your plants from the chill. Whether it's maintaining your tools, starting some seeds indoors, or organising your gardening space, we've got you covered. So grab your gloves and join us as we make the most of January, setting the stage for flourishing gardens and bountiful allotment in the year ahead. So this is the second half of yesterday's podcast. If you've not listened to yesterday's podcast, it was all about what seeds we should be planting in January. And I went through what vegetable seeds to plant, what fruit seeds to plant. Well, not fruit seeds, fruit plants or trees. And what flower seeds to plant in January. So in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about what jobs need to be done in the garden. And usually I like to create a little tick list so that I can tick them off and I know that I've completed them. And that's when I know that I've done all these little jobs, get them done out of the way, and then we can concentrate on doing other bits and bobs around the garden. But getting these monthly jobs done and out of the way is a good way to get started each month down at the allotment. So yeah, in today's podcast, hopefully it'll get you some little tasks to do. You might think that your allotment's pretty quiet, pretty dormant, and there's nothing to be done in the garden at this time of the year, whereas it's the perfect time to get stuff done in the allotment and garden because there's not much to be done, but the stuff that you can do will improve it for the year ahead. So it's a good time to get stuff all up and running and sorted. So again, in this episode, we're going to be talking about what vegetables jobs need doing, what fruit jobs need doing, and what flower jobs need doing. So hopefully you'll get some good tips and advice from this. So make sure you do click that subscribe button and then you can keep up to date with all our podcasts. And as I said, these podcasts are going to be coming out on a regular basis again now. Last year we did pretty rubbish, I do admit, but I think so far this year I've recorded more than I did last year. But we still had a lot of streams last year, so people are still listening to them, which is fantastic. So the podcasts are back up and running, and hopefully we'll have a lot more to add to the podcast shelves for you to listen to. So yeah, what have we in store for you? So make sure you've got a notepad and you can list these little jobs what need doing. There's not many jobs in January to be doing, but once you've done these jobs, you can know that you've done well, that you've succeeded. So we're going to start off with what jobs need doing in the vegetable garden. So the sort of stuff what needs doing in the vegetable garden is if you're thinking about growing some peas in the garden and you're wanting to get them growing pretty early so that you get an early crop, you need to cover an area of ground to warm it up so that it gets it nice and warm, the soil, before you sow them out. Unless you're sowing them in pots before planting out, you don't necessarily need to warm the ground up. But I wouldn't recommend sowing peas at this time of year. There's obviously too many rodents around, there's birds around, and there's not much food around. So as soon as you've sown them, you'll probably find that they've all been eaten in the next couple of days by mice and rats and birds. You're best off sowing in pots if you wanted to be sowing them. So I'd pretty much sow them around March time if you are wanting to be sowing peas. Parsnips. Now, parsnips are one of the longest growing vegetables that take time to grow. That and Brussels sprouts. And usually start sowing parsnips pretty early in the year. And you don't pull them until there has been a frost. And the reason why you leave them until there's been a frost or the ground's been frozen is that it reacts with the vegetable and it makes it sweeter and tastier. And leaving them in that ground for that frost period does make them taste a lot nicer and gives them a really good taste. So don't pick your parsnips until we've had a frost or snow and it's been frozen, and it will react to the parsnips and make them taste a lot nice. We haven't had many frosts so far this year, and we've not had, certainly had not much snow. I don't know what about where you live or the areas that you're from, but we've certainly not had much frost here in Yorkshire. Potatoes. Again, in the previous episode, I talked about growing potatoes and starting them chitting. If you're growing these in the greenhouse or polytunnel at this time of year, which you can be doing, you can be growing them. If it's warm enough in your polytunnel or greenhouse, you can use a heater or a fleece to protect them at the cold nights in January, as it does get cold in January and it'll certainly get colder in February before it starts to get warmer in the summer. So you can be growing potatoes at this time of year in a heated greenhouse or polytunnel as long as they kept warm at night, or it will kill the plants off, and you certainly wouldn't want that. What to do in the fruit garden in January? Well, this month obviously is a good month to be shaping your plants up and sorting them all out, ready for next year. Well, ready for this year's harvest. And it's now start to be pruning them, be tidying them up, be shaping them up, cutting off any branches that are going the wrong way or that's not letting enough air through it. So it's a case of just trimming them back and making them look smarter. So apple trees, make sure your apple trees are pruned this month, ready for them waking up soon and starting to go into bud. Black currants, these can be pruned this month, ready for the summer months. Gooseberries, again, prune them, but be careful because of them awful thorns in them. I've got a red gooseberry bush on my allotment and I can't wait for it. It's grown quite a lot this last year, so hopefully we'll get some good crops on it this year. Pear trees as well as apple trees can be pruned this month while they're still dormant. Red currants, again, these can be pruned this month. Do not prune your plums, do not prune cherries. Anything that's got a stone in it, don't prune this month. You're meant to prune them in the summer months as it can affect the tree, and we wouldn't want that. Rhubarb plants, if you're wanting to grow early rhubarb, why not try forcing it? And I often sprinkle a bit of chicken pellet manure near the crowns to help feed them for the year ahead. And I saw my rhubarb crowns today. I had a look at them, and if you've not seen my Instagram post or my Facebook post, you'll see that it's growing really well already. And it shouldn't be growing as fast as it is at the moment, but it's coming back to life pretty much fast. And I can't believe how well it's actually doing. It'll probably die off again when we get a cold spell or something like that because it will just kill it off. But it certainly shouldn't be growing at this time of year. If it does carry on staying being warm and we don't get no frosts or snow, I'll be harvesting some before we know it. I'll be having a rhubarb crumble in January, what I've picked. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the rhubarb crumbles again. I don't cook myself, I give them to my mum. And my mum makes me all the crumbles and I just freeze them all. But that's what parents are for. Hey, don't tell them. So yeah, that's all the fruit garden jobs this month. So, what else is there? What jobs to do in the flower garden? There's not an awful lot of jobs to be doing in the flower garden, but there's still a few little tiny jobs which can be done this month. If you're growing any pansies in your allotment or garden, again, another good flower to grow because who doesn't love the pansies? They flower all through the winter, adding colour to the garden. and if you look after them, they'll keep on growing well. And the way we look after them is that we keep deheading them. Do not let them grow to seed. As soon as the flower starts to die, dehead it, and it will encourage more and more flowers to grow on it, and you'll keep them going. And that's what we want down at the allotments. Roses, if you've not pruned these, they can still be done this month while the plants are still dormant. So if you've got any rose bushes or you've got any trailing roses, what are you growing up, arches and stuff like that, make sure you tidy them up, get them all sorted, give them a little prune, and yeah, get them shaped, ready for the year ahead. And hopefully you'll get some good roses on them this year. Give them a bit of food, ready for the year ahead. Again, chicken manure or rose food, what you can purchase from the shops. Just give them that little bit of attention and love, because if you love them, they'll love you back and they'll produce you some fantastic flowers for the allotment. So yeah, that is basically all the jobs which need doing in the allotment over January. So there's not many jobs to be done. You could mostly do a lot of those in a day, to be honest, depending on how much stuff you've got in your garden. So there's not a lot to be doing down there. But I hope that you've enjoyed it. And like I say, we're going to be getting these podcasts out a lot more. So we've had 2 new episodes in the last couple of days. Hopefully, you'll be getting a few more. We'll be at least doing 3 or 4 a week. So make sure you stay tuned for them. I've got a list of podcasts what I want to do for this month. So hopefully we will stay on track and you'll get all these episodes. But please do click that subscribe button, do click that follow button. If you've not left a review on my podcast already, please leave a review. We've got a lot of 5-star ratings on there. You can leave them if you're listening on Spotify, or if you're listening on Apple, you can leave a review and help push it out. The more reviews I get, it will push it out to people listening. So please do leave a review of my podcast. So until next time, it has been a shorter episode than usual. But yeah, until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep shining, and keep gardening with Ben, everybody. And that wraps up another episode of Gardening with Ben. Thank you for joining me in this journey. Remember, every seed planted is a step towards a greener world, and every day is a chance to grow something beautiful. Keep nurturing your gardens and your souls. Until next time, I'm Gardening with Ben, reminding you to let your garden be your sanctuary. Happy gardening and see you in the next episode. Remember, keep smiling, keep shining, and keep gardening with Ben.